Have you ever been in an argument with a fearful, avoidant attachment style partner and felt how upset they were about something and how strongly they shut down as a result? Being on the receiving end of that can be scary, can be challenging, can be overwhelming, especially because usually there's a pretty deep connection that we have to our fearful, avoidant loved ones, and we can be afraid of losing that connection to them. It can also feel confusing because the fearful avoidant swings from the polarity of being so present and so available and so caring to suddenly this very cold, standoffish element of themselves that can feel like, hey, what happened to this person that I was really connected to just moments ago? And if you're in this position or have ever been in this position and want to know a remedy for it going forward, I'm going to give you a few key steps for how to communicate to your fearful, avoidant loved one. And this doesn't just have to be like a romantic partner. It can be a family member. It can be a friend of yours when there's been an argument or disagreement that has triggered them to shut down. Now, I want to start this video by saying that if you are the loved one of a fearful avoidant, this is not me saying put up with unhealthy patterns. Obviously, it can be really painful to be on the end of somebody consistently shutting down or shutting you out. But it's also important to realize at the same time that this is generally with the fearful avoidant, the result of a big traumatic wound being triggered, a big wound that was in there. And so it's really important to have healthy boundaries, to communicate what's okay for you in terms of how the fearful avoidant deals with their wounds, and what's not. It's also really important to have compassion and understanding for both sides of this experience. So if you're on the receiving end of this, and obviously there's probably a few fearful avoidants watching this video as well, don't beat yourself up if you find yourself shutting down really hard. Come to understand it, get curious, figure out what's going on beneath the surface there. And that's ultimately going to help you so much to have more compassion for yourself and be able to open up more quickly again, as well as try to gain some insight from this video as to what might be going on for you. So if you're on the receiving end, this is who I'm going to speak to the most in this video, and you see your partner shutting down and really starting to become cold, especially like in an argument or when they feel hurt, the first thing you want to do is give them a little bit of space. So generally what's happened is the fearful avoidance shuts so that they deactivate more strongly than dismissive avoidance. They deactivate a lot less pervasively, like a lot less often. But when they do deactivate, it's really strong, and it's usually because a big wound is there, and they go into this really strong and intense self-preservation mode, sort of as a way of like removing themselves from you because they associate that wounding is coming from you, even though it's coming from like the situation rather than a person. The fearful avoidant at a subconscious level can't necessarily differentiate that super well, as with most people in most situations where there's conflict. And so in this dynamic specifically, first thing you want to do is give a little bit of space. And what that does is when the fearful avoidants really shut down like that, they actually need to I find that fearful avoidants tend to soothe through others in less emotionally charged situations, but then really emotionally charged situations, they kind of soothe from through themselves. They really need to take a step back. So give that space for a moment first. And that's a great opportunity for you on the receiving end of that to take some time and be like, okay, what do I need right now to feel resolved? What are my boundaries in this situation? What do I need my partner to understand about me or where I'm coming from in this conflict? And that's a good time for you to self-reflect and really get in attunement and alignment with yourself and your needs. And I would say generally after 10 or 15 minutes, to then go back and reapproach the fearful avoidant. And this can be whether it's on the phone or whether it's, going into the other room when you're spending time together, things like that. And then take that time to let them sort of get clear about what they're feeling, and then go and say, hey, I see what's going on, and try to take the time too to understand that what their hurt might have been. And then when you go back, the next step, so step 1 is to give that space. Step 2 is to validate their feelings. Now, validating their feelings does not mean validating their behavior. So if they shut down and ice you out, that doesn't make that behavior okay. Validating their feelings looks like saying, hey, I see that you're hurt and upset, and I care about you, and I'm not trying to hurt you or upset you, right? Something along those lines. But then you can also say, if somebody's, icing you out or things like that, and it's not an appropriate response, you can proceed to say, and also I want to let you know, I don't feel good when you ice me out that way. So you can still communicate. Like, this is not me saying just only cater to that person, but you validate their feelings. And fearful avoidance, it goes a very long way when they feel seen, when they feel acknowledged, when they feel like you care to recognize their feelings. It's really big for FAs. So step one, give a little bit of that space initially. Step two, reapproach, validate their feelings. Step three, ask if they're willing to hash it out. And this is a really important time, because what you're doing is sort of like opening up the space for healthy dialogue, and say, like, I want to understand what you feel and what you need and what's going on for you, because right now I don't understand, and I need you to communicate a little more often and more frequently before it leads up to a trigger, so that we don't have to, get into these arguments or conflicts, because fearful avoidance have this big pattern of sometimes not really knowing what they're feeling for quite some time. And then it sort of builds up, and then they kind of feel it all at once. And then there's been this like historic lack of communication a little bit from the fearful avoidance end a lot of the time. And it's because they're so focused on what other people are feeling, they sometimes forget about themselves. And then it feels really bad when they have that realization. So encourage that person to communicate so that they're aware of it too, right? So they don't have to get to the point of being so angry as to ice someone out or push them away so hard. Then I would try to hear them out and make sure that you're trying to have the communication become constructive. So you want to say, okay, what are you feeling? Let them know that you see why they feel that way. It's a very good line to help people feel understood and seen. So, okay, I can see why you would feel hurt coming from your perspective, or, if you interpreted the situation that way, I can see why that would be painful, right? So you can validate like where they're coming from. Again, it doesn't have to validate that they're right and you're wrong or anything like that, but just validate their emotions, their experience, where they're coming from when they're upset. And that goes such a long way in resolving arguments, not just with FAs, but with literally all attachment styles. Then you can ask them, okay, what do you need to feel relief? How can we organize a constructive outcome? And once you've done that, you can then proceed to share your feelings and your needs. Say, okay, well, this is my side of things. This is how I interpreted the situation. This is what came up for me. Here's what I was experiencing in the situation. Here's what I need. And let's brainstorm how we can meet each other's needs together. And this way of communicating, this practice, so give space, come back, validate feelings, open the dialogue, right? Is step three, ask to hash it out. Then ask, what are you feeling? What are you needing? Validate it. I get it. I see why you would feel this way. Then ask to share so that you can do the same thing. Here's what I'm feeling. Here's what I experienced. Here's what I'm needing. Let's brainstorm a way for this together. These are the steps we need to actually resolve the underlying pain points around trauma, around frustration, around all sorts of different dynamics. And if you want to go a step further, I have a course you can check out for free for 7 days. It's called Steps to Resolve Conflict Communication. Steps for Conflict Resolution. I don't know. We title them and then my team retitles them. So I don't actually know what it's called, but you can check it out below. You can literally just type in, it's so funny. You can literally just go in the link below. It says PDS All Access Pass. You can click on it. You can go on the dashboard. I've written 55 courses, I think, at this point inside PDS. You get free access to all of them for 7 days, and you can type in conflict. There's 2 conflict courses inside PDS. One are the steps to conflict resolution. I think it's called like the conflict resolution course, and along those lines. The other one you'll see pop up on your dashboard are conflict communication scripts. You can check that out for free too. And it actually gives you scripts for like how to speak to each attachment style. And they're very in depth. I think there's like 60 or 70 scripts for different situations. So like a fearful avoidant when they're deactivating, an anxious preoccupied when they're feeling afraid, a dismissive avoidant when they deactivate, like how to actually communicate to each attachment style in these situations. It like lays it out for you so you can just model off of that. And communication is a huge part of lasting relationships, because without communication, we really don't often have resolution. Without resolution, we build up resentment, and resentment destroys relationships long term. So hopefully these are some important steps that help you. You'll see a lot in that conflict resolution course, really being able to differentiate between validating somebody's feelings, but also setting boundaries around inappropriate behaviors or things that don't work for you. And I'll proceed to do a little bit of videos about if the fearful avoidance on the receiving end of a DA or an AP, and we'll talk about the different attachment styles and how to work through this. So let me know questions you have below. I would love to hear them. I would love to see you in PDS. Along with that all access pass you get below, you also get access to 4 live webinars during that week with me. So if you want to join, I'd love to see you there. You can get your questions asked and answered. You can come on camera and ask me live. You can type them in the chat if you prefer, and I answer them from there. So you can check that all out. And then we also have a lot of cool other things like community events, social events, all that good stuff too. So you can check it all out for free. And I would love to see you there. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.